Hello everyone, welcome back. Okay, so I have this dwarf ash tree. This was a cutting that I took off another a bigger tree obviously, but this was the top of it. It kind of had a stupid twist, so I cut the top off. I was going to throw it away, but I said no, I'd put it into a pot, and I tied it into a small pot just as a cutting, and it grew, which was surprising. Because it was such a large cutting. The actual main tree didn't grow at all, it just, where it chopped off, just died. So I had it in a small pot, tall pot, because I had to tie it to something, so I tied it into that. Then I left it grow, and sure enough it grew anyway, and then I put it into this little pot, and it's just kept growing, as you can see. And it is too big for this pot really, so, and I kind of, well, I keep it in a shallow dish of water, but I kind of forgot it was only supposed to be temporary in this pot. And it was actually Nathan that said to me when I did a video on this that he thought the pot looked a bit small, and that reminded me I should have, in the spring I should have transplanted it into a bigger pot, but I thought I'll have to wait now till next year. But I have another cutting of this, smaller cutting, and I planted it into a bigger pot a couple of weeks ago, and it is gone 10 times bigger than it was when I planted it in. It's taking off like crazy, so I think repotting it now, as long as I don't disturb the roots or anything, won't harm it. It'll carry on growing, and it'll probably grow a lot stronger with a bit more room. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plant it in this, but I'm not just going to plant it in this like this. I do have a couple of pieces of rock here that I've got. This one here, it's got a kind of a groove kind of in it, and I have a bigger one here. This one, these are just ones I've just taken out my fish tank recently, which I could also plant it kind of using this groove. So let's get this out of its pot and we'll try it on the rocks and we'll see. Now normally like that I wouldn't be repotting trees now, but this is just kind of going to be a slip potting basically into a bigger pot, just so that I don't like leaving them sitting in a bowl of water all the time, because then you'll end up with root rot. But because this pot is so small and this tree is growing so strong, not as strong as the other one, I must admit that I've just repotted into a bigger pot. That one is really taking off, so that's kind of why I repotted the other one, just to check, see will it be safe to repot this now. And like that, it's absolutely taken off. You can see it's pretty much filled this pot around the outside anyway with root, so it'll be glad to get a bit more space, I think. I'll just try and get that wire out if I can. I was totally surprised that this grew, so it's always worth putting anything you cut off into a pot and just on the off chance it grows. Because if I hadn't done it with this, then I wouldn't have any of these now, but because I did, I have this one, and I have quite a few cuttings now that I've taken and are growing. So yeah, okay, so the plan is to somehow utilise one of these rocks, because you can see with this awkward bend on it, I want it to look like it's growing like that for a reason. So I'll just carefully tease out the roots just so I can move it around a little bit if I can. Pretty thick roots actually, pretty solid in there. I wouldn't recommend doing this time of year. I'm literally doing it because I did a test tree basically of it first, just to check, and like that. I don't want to have to spend time watching this, because I think it's already starting to get a few roots that are rotting, because I'm having to keep it in a bowl of water because it dries out so quick in that little bowl. So hopefully I can get it into one of these rocks somehow without having to prune any of the roots. But I just think if we use one of these rocks a bit to make it look some way. Oh, look at that new one. See if I can kind of plant it somehow on the rock. Then it can grow its roots down through the rock, down through it, and into the pot. Just need to decide on a way which looks kind of realistic-y looking. Ideally, I'd want it kind of that way on the rock. It doesn't look right that way. The rock sticking that way and the tree sticking this way. I think it needs to follow the tree that way. See if I planted it on here like that, then the roots then can go down through here. It'll look like it's sitting just on the rock, but in actual fact it's kind of fill it all in down here with roots. So let me just see if I can loosen out these roots. I'll go and wash them a bit and see if I can loosen them a bit and see what the story is with them. Okay, I played around with it a bit, and I can have it on top of the rock and stuff, but I'm looking at it like this. Like I was growing this as a windswept tree, but it kind of slots in nicely there into the side of that rock. It's got some nice character to the front of this rock. And if I was to do that, instead of growing it as a windswept tree, I could actually wire it back more, bring these branches back, and actually grow it more as a normal tree kind of a thing. It's just that the trunk has grown around the rock, so I'm thinking I'll go with that. Plus it'll get the root then into the pot fully, so they can grow much quicker and better. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with that, and eventually the tree will fill in and completely close them gaps. I mean, there's no gap here really, there's a bit of a gap here, okay, but it'll start to knit itself right onto the rock. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with that. Like I said, it'll be better that I can get the whole root base into the pot too. So let's go with that and let's see how it looks. So let's get up the, put this out the way in a minute. Pot, and we'll put some soil into it. The roots then will fill this whole pot. Rock just about fits in there, but it's okay, it's pretty good. We can get a bigger, better pot for it when the time comes to pull it up properly into a proper bonsai pot. This is just a training pot. thinking, could we go slightly higher? I think we will. The more soil we get underneath it, the more room for the roots to grow into. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just put a little bit of soil. Where's my chopstick gone? Just a bit of more soil at this end. Tip the rock up a bit more so it slots in better. Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, let's fill that in now. I'll keep this out of the sun now for a little while till I see it growing again. But like that, judging by the other one, it should have no problem, hopefully. Just carrying on like nothing's happened. And like that, I can fill this pot with roots. So it should, when it does start taking off, and like I said, now I can, this wire's a bit light now for it. We'll just leave them for now. Let them start growing a bit and filling out a bit, and then we will now we can let branches grow this side and fill out here as well. I don't know if we're going to use this back one or not. Just leave it there. This thing can be drawn as an apex up here, and we'll fill it out and we'll start creating layers as we go down. This is just a little light, this wire. This branch put a bit of a movement in it, but we'll let it start growing first and then I'll wire it, I think. Okay, so I think that will one day should start, hopefully start looking kind of natural and good. And like I said, once it starts to fill out and thicken up in places like here, get closer to the rock. I have a couple that I've planted like this on the side of rocks, and eventually they'll they'll start to take on the shape of the rock as they thicken up and get pinned tight to the rock. Alright, so I think I'll just leave it at that. I'll get it out and we'll put it in. We'll put it out and give it a good soaking, and I'll keep it, like I said, out of any wind or anything until we can see it start growing. I'll just show you some others that I've done similar to this, with the tree on the side of the rock instead of on the top. Okay, so one's this tiger bark ficus, and you can see this one had this horrible kink in it. So I planted it up against the side of this rock, there's a bit of a groove in the rock, so I put it onto the rock there, and it just slotted over the top of the rock like that, and it just makes it look a bit more like, you know, if without that rock there the tree looked ridiculous, but with the rock there now all of a sudden it looks like it's grown that way because of the rock. It's grown quite well, as you can see. And the other one, let's put that out of the way a minute. The other one's this Chinese elm. Again, it had this kind of squarey look, so I just happened to find a rock which had this kind of squarey piece on it, and again I planted it on the side of the rock, and yeah, as you can see now it looks like the tree was growing up the side of the rock, and then it kind of kinked over onto the top of the rock and carried on growing up. So yeah, so that's the kind of plan, that's what I'm kind of aiming for, something like that. So fingers crossed it survives. I think it should. I've put it down in between the benches on a small table thing, so it'll be kept out of the wind and out of any sun and stuff, and I'll keep it well watered, and I'll keep you updated. Hopefully in a few days or in a week or two we can start seeing some new growth on it, because like I said, the other cutting that I planted, it had branches about this long, and now the branches are probably 2.5 foot long. They're shooting off everywhere. I've moved it into a bigger pot, so hopefully it'll do the same. Okay, so we'll leave that video there. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.